Cancer, the moon is in Sagittarius and she's wanting you to go out there and go on an adventure. Go find that sense of optimism after having to go in those depths of Scorpio. This is the time to be renewed and to expand oneself. So stick around to figure out how to work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes and shares. Your support really just touches my heart, Cancer. Sidebar, when I'm recording this, Mercury and Venus just entered into Cancer and the moon's in Scorpion. I'm feeling a lot. And it's really lovely. And it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and know that when you've come across this video that you're in sync with the moon and she loves that. And also with this channel is for those of you who have Cancer in your placement, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Mercury, maybe even in Jupiter, wherever Cancer, this one's for you. And I do tarot card spreads based on our ruler here, the good old moon. I actually haven't seen the moon in a few days. This is the trickiness of living in the Pacific Northwest. There's a lot of overcast here, and yeah, sometimes I don't get to see her, but we sense her, Cancer, and I'll talk about, I can sense what sign she's in, what phase she's in, when she's going for it. Of course, just all of those lunar shenanigans. And just so and pay attention to that, especially when she goes from like a water sign into a fire sign. See if you notice that shift and just those little nuances into the chapter. And just so you're aware that Cancer, this is a general reading, not a 1-2-1. So take what resonates with you, discard the rest of Cancer, and everything will be dope. Still, I'm almost there. I almost got that ending down packed. It's going to be smooth, Cancer. But until then, let's jump into it. What you gonna do? I'll tell you what we're gonna do, Cancer. We're going to see that one's gonna be smooth either. Cancer, your space has been cleansed. We're gonna keep it moving. Crystals, feeling lovely. Just observing this whatever this is. Just great energy all around here, Cancer. Cancer, I'll tell you why I may be out of sorts. Happy Mercury Day. Mercury rules over Wednesdays, getting it together. Mercury rules over Wednesdays, and this is a great day for processing information. Maybe, depending on where Mercury's are at, maybe you're feeling a little fuzzy. And this is, when we're thinking about the days of the week, and this is something to pay attention to, how they have influences over those days. Pay attention to what sign that the planets are in. With Mercury being in Cancer, this is a less logical energy and a very more in touch where the head and the heart are really connected during this time when Mercury is in Cancer. It's a lot more feeling than the thinking. So just pay attention to that. This could be where we're doing like studying, for example, maybe we're looking more into, instead of like, maybe if you're a journalist, maybe this is looking to more like creative writing on the side, something to have, like, you give your Mercury a creative outlet to express your emotions. Maybe you're writing poetry. Maybe you're changing the genre of music that you're listening to. Maybe you're listening to things that evoke more emotions there, possibly. Maybe you're having more thoughtful conversations. And that's something too to pay attention, especially during Mercury days, during Mercury hours, if you happen to follow it that closely. Just see how when you're going with those intentions, and how how their emotions may flavor their speech during those hours and things. Just observe that and see if you notice, if you make any notes there, Cancer. But also too, during this period of time while the moon is in Sagittarius, I want to talk about this before we get into this, because now, Cancer, on the 20th of June, what month are we in? And that's going to be on a Jupiter day. The sun is going to be entering into Cancer at about 1:51 p.m. and that's going to be Pacific time. Now, with the sun entering into our sign, this is kicking off the summer solstice. This is an interesting energy. This is when you think about it too, this is the longest day of the year. And that's where I feel like it's like everything is on display. The sun is really kind of tuning into his inner world, and it's like the light has been shined on to this now, Cancer. So this is a really great time, because now if your sun signs in Cancer, this is when you're starting to come up on solar returns. And I wanted to put a little note in there. I'm going to be making an offer soon, and depending on how many people volunteer for this. That depends on how many videos I'll make for it. But what I want to start doing is like making videos so often just to give examples of how to read different charts. What are some different things that may come up? What are some points to look for when you're looking at a solar return chart? I want to do it for something too where we're going to do for a lunar return chart. So be paying attention to the community tab over the next couple days. I'll be providing like a place for you to email me at, so that like if you feel comfortable as far as like sending it would be like date of birth, place of birth, or excuse me, date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth. But for the solar return, I would need more so the place that you're at right now. And it doesn't have to be your exact location. It can be like a city within that, just as long as it's within that, because that'll affect the rising sign. It affects the housing placement. So, and that's something more that we can talk to as we exchange on that. But that's just something I wanted to get to, where you get familiar with reading these charts, where you can pull up your chart and be like, okay, my son's doing this. It's going to be focusing on third house tasks this year, or maybe I'm focused on 12th house task or ninth house task. You can get an idea of what's going down, where you may be more abundant, where you may need to be a bit more disciplined, where you may need to be mindful of escapisms and things, but where you could also maybe pull upon great creative inspirations and spiritualities, and where your focus is. So a lot can be gleaned from the solar returns, from the lunar returns and things. So just something that I'll be putting that out there here soon. But just with the sun being in Cancer, this is a really great time to tune into that emotional space there, Cancer. Tend to home, do that nurturing, that sense of self, and just being around those that you feel safe around, that you feel that, because Cancer energy is love. Like we feel emotions so deeply. And the biggest one, like leading with love, I feel like if you can bring as much love as you can during this time, I feel like that could just really just keep the, I'm just picturing just the crab just feeling just safe, feeling loved, feeling warm. Even in times when you feel like you're going through struggles, you can go to that place to help you get clarity even. We go to home to protect ourselves, to reorient. So that's just something to think about when we're working with the sun in Cancer. But let's talk about now, and this is especially too, while the sun is in Cancer, while we're in this Cancer energy, we're wanting to pay attention to where the moon's at, because now we're all going to, and I like the way that I heard someone put this in a way that I really appreciated. We all, even if you don't have your sun sign in Cancer, while the sun is in Cancer, you're getting the experience of what it's like, for what it would be like for you if your sun sign was in Cancer. So I like thinking about that. So when you're thinking about that, you want to pay attention to the lunar cycles, when she's changing phases, when she's going through the different signs, when we're going through the void of courses. So let's talk about that. Let's get into it, because on Mercury Day, the 19th, the sun will be entering into the gregarious Sagittarius at 9:31 a.m. And she's going to be in a waxing gibbous phase. And I love this, because this can be a time, when the moon's in Scorpio, she's in fall. That's where where her energy is weaker there, and she has to work a lot harder. She's feeling a lot more intensely. There's this energy of power play, manipulation, sex, the occult, death, that all those intense things that's coming. What are your desires that comes up? What are you yearning for when we're talking about with Scorpio? And during that time, the moon is feeling a lot. But when she comes into Sagittarius, this is a really, really kind of elevated place for the moon, because this is Jupiter's home sign. And Jupiter and the moon have a very close relationship, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And so when the moon is in Sagittarius, this is a time to this can be where you can take what you've learned from those Scorpio times, what insights you got from that, and where you can grow from this. I'll tell you something very interesting that happened like the day before. Interesting. Ooh, I like that, Cancer. Thank you, guys. But right before, some really kind of cool stuff came up, and I'm still trying to figure out how to work with this. But I was looking into some astrolocality stuff. I was talking with my partner about this, and I hadn't been looking that seriously into it yet. And I started to look at some stuff, and on my vision board, I have Africa on the post, and I had been getting people who've been asking me if I'm Africa, I should go, all this stuff. And then I go to look at astrolocality, and this is a very fascinating thing. If you haven't looked into that, I definitely would recommend that. It's a very, and I got some things cooking up with that, but I have like all these hot spots, all these like real zeniths that are happening. There's like six points that are happening all along the coast of Africa, and that's like, it's bringing up a lot. Like I'm not sure what to do with that yet, but it's like it has sparked this sense of adventure, you know, and that's what the moon in Sagittarius can be. You can take the things that you've learned from Scorpio and then go to learn different stuff. For example, you know, this has brought up some things about like my heritage, and granted that's getting into Cancerian things, but when the moon is in Scorpio, she touches my Cancer placement. So of course areas of the home, because it's going through my fourth house, my fourth house as well when that's happening. So you know, it's just fascinating how that all can turn out. But Scorpio can be one where it's like it can either make or break you. And I feel like when we're getting into Sagittarius, this can be where we approach that honesty too, because Sagittarius is a very blunt sign as well. But I feel like we don't want to necessarily beat ourselves up. It's just like a hey, you really went through it. That was really tough, and let's honor that. But how are we going to grow from this? Because we have to face the fact we've seen whatever we've seen or felt during Scorpio season, and it was wanting us to transform this. It's wanting us to alchemize this and then go off with that and take this journey and go see what's next. So, and when we're talking about combined with the waxing gibbous, this is a time where the moon cycle, where there's just opportunities abound, a time for acceleration. The moon is almost at, she's really pregnant at this time. Really, you know, we're getting to where she's reaching this culminating point. So this can be where we can take that uplifting energy of Sagittarius and let it spark maybe new journeys for emotional growth. Maybe you actually want to look into moving somewhere. Maybe you think about changing that job. Maybe you think about going for that relationship. Maybe think about leaving that relationship. You know, whatever this is, the point with Sagittarius is growth, is expansion. And in that, that's where the abundance comes in. That's where Jupiter comes in. Jupiter doesn't just like give stuff. You do have to go get it. There's some work that requires. And the thing with Jupiter is, because he's the traditional guardian of Pisces, there still can be that that sense of trickery. You know, we all give that to Neptune, but yeah, we can't forget that Jupiter can over exaggerate. It can, and that can be in the good and in the bad as well. Like when I'm thinking like good, like how do I want to put this? It can over exaggerate whether we're feeling, let's say, more negative emotions, and really kind of dive into that. If we take like maybe the lower vibrations of Scorpio and carry that into Sag, then it's just a lot of heat. It's just a wildfire. And you want to think about that too. Sagittarius is mutable fire, so there's this outwardly expression. How have we handled everything internally while we're in Scorpio? What are we holding on to? And what do we need to release with Sagittarius? What's needing to dissipate? What's needing to burn out here so that we can take these ashes from a sense in, because now that ground is fertile. It's all kind of, look at that, all these sort of fertile things that are coming, or analogies that are coming through with this. So a lot of opportunities for some growth wherever you happen to be at on your journey with this. So this would, I feel, be a wonderful way of working with the moon in Sagittarius. It could be just, even if it's something as simple as just like, all right, you know, maybe you've been just stuck in bed for a few days. Let's brush the teeth. Let's get in the shower. Let's go. You don't even got to go walk. Let's just get outside. Maybe stick your head out the window. Just kind of breathe in some fresh air. Hear some fresh sounds. You know, if you can get outside, ground yourself. That can be a great way too when you're feeling under, and maybe even when you're feeling over inspired too. Because I will say, one thing, having as much Leo, and then I will move on to the Void of Course and then to the Tarot. But one thing I even kind of had reflected on too was that with all the Leo, sometimes where I can get really excited, because Jupiter's conjunct my ascendant too. So when I'm really excited about something, I'm really excited. And I was thinking about how that can be too much for someone. Like it was in I was talking about this Africa thing and like, like, oh, what would it be like moving there and checking out all these areas and blah, blah, blah. And like, when I'm moving and talking and thinking and conspiring, it's hard to kind of insert in, because when you burst that bubble, then I do kind of respond like a child sometimes, and it's just like it's like, what do you mean I can't go today? And it's, like, so that's even something that I had even reflected on, but that can be one way how you can carry that Sag too. It's like, how do you even ground even that to keep from that over exaggerated and disappointment that could come with that part of, well, we would put that more on Pisces, but that involves Jupiter too. So just something to think about there, Cancer. Now, lastly, on Venus Day, the 21st of June, we have the void of course, and that's going to be happening from 3:57 p.m. to 4:08 p.m. So pretty short void of course. I'm a little over 10 minutes. And the void of course is when the moon forms her final aspect with a celestial body, and then she just roams the void. They call it Canodromia in the ancient days, but it's just when the moon is just reflecting on everything, the adventure that she just went on in Sagittarius. It's like it's where the thought starts to become a memory. It's a time of self-reflection, and it's a pretty short one here soon, because we're going to be going right to Capricorn into that first full moon. So it's going to be kind of a quick kind of turnover there, but what the void of course invites is there's no energy when the moon is void of course. So this is a time to just relax. If you can take a moment to maybe do some meditation during this time for like 10 minutes if you happen to spare. Even if you just take a moment to just like catch your breath. If you happen to be on the move, just a deep breath. Maybe you're stuck in traffic, just maybe putting on some calming music during that time, just to kind of get yourself, kind of bring the energies down a little bit. Just something to think about, because the aspect that she's forming during that time kind of flavors the void of course, and she's forming a square with Neptune, who would have been in Pisces. And so there's that commonality with Jupiter. Even though Neptune is the modern guardian of Pisces, there's still that everything all comes back to Big Papa, and Big Papa's in Gemini now. And I feel that this void of course can really bring a lot of insights, especially when we're thinking about Sagittarius, and insights that we want to take into Capricorn, because Capricorn's where we take the adventure, what we've learned from Sagittarius, and then we really start doing something with it. Now it starts becoming a new part of who we are, and then we get to this evaluation state at the full moon, where we're seeing the progress or the failure that way, and not even the failures or the success. Let's look at the progress. Are we celebrating, or are we needing to go back to the drawing board? And we'll talk about that more on Venus Day. But with the square with Neptune, this can be this kind of conflicting feelings that go on there, because squares are tension, is when the planets are 90 degrees apart from each other. And so when we're thinking about Sag and Pisces, there could be this energy of, I feel like maybe the void of course is just like, maybe why didn't something go as you expected? Maybe you wanted something bigger for that. Maybe you're trying to understand. Maybe we're still kind of understanding why something happened for maybe Scorpio moon time, maybe even a little bit further back into that. And this maybe something just starts to make sense around Sagittarius, this Sagittarius void of course. But I feel it could be something with the square with Neptune that can maybe be hard to integrate. It could be one of those experiences that, in the micro, it's just like, that really sucked. But in the macro, it's like, oh, I get it. When we can look back and we're in a different state of, when we're in a higher perspective, which like Jupiter wants, then we could see that it's okay. Really, I was kind of lucky that could have actually gone this way, that way, and the third. Because I even think about my journey when I was kind of lost and kind of, really kind of swimming in the void. That could have gone, there are 100 different ways that it could have gone like 1,000 times worse. So I was very lucky. I think about especially when I found out that Jupiter is on my ascendant, I'm very thankful for that. I think about that. I don't take that luck I could look at where I have taken that luck for granted, and that's where I've definitely been more mindful with it. And it's where Big Papa and I, we're getting on pretty great terms. But just something I feel like to meditate on there, Cancer. And if you're curious about how these energies are working more intimately in your chart, wanting to kind of follow this more closely, book a reading with there. I'll be able to talk by then. Cancer, book a reading with me. Well, Cancer, we'll be doing this telepathically at this point. It's Cancer season. We'll just get it. We'll laugh it out. We'll get angry. We'll cry it out. We'll get sad, and then we'll be back to normal, and everything will be lovely. We'll be healed. We'll go with fresh perspectives. But that's what astrology is meant to do. It's not meant to. I was actually talking with someone about this the other day. It's not meant to. When I was explaining a chart to someone, they was like, "Oh, well, this is not me. This is not me at all." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not trying to make it you. I'm trying to ask you if you looking at it from this lens, this soul growth. Would you say their son was in the ninth house going through this time? And there's a lot of expansion that was going on for them." And I was like, would you say this was as an opportunity where you may have found that you moved a lot? And it's like, well, like kind of. It's like they traveled to, I think they did on a couple of trips. Went on a couple of trips for work, went to move to a whole different state. And so I was like, Sagittarius themes, listen to me. But they're Chirons and Gemini in the third house. So communication's tricky. But see, you get to learn through the chart. You get to learn how to work with other people energetically too. There's more patience that I apply when I talk with this person. It keeps me in check too, because it reminds me with Gemini Moon to make sure that I'm listening to how they're hearing me too. It gets into this whole thing, So if that's something that resonates with you, you want to learn a bit more how to work with your natal chart, how to work with these transiting planets. Maybe we're looking at what's coming up with you for the solar return for the year. What is that focus? Where is the moon at? Where is that going to be changing? Because the sun stays the same, but depending on where you're at, that's going to change your house placements, and that'll change your ascendant, which is how the energy that you're going to be giving off. I've been in a Taurus rising, which I've been trying to find peace and ground stuff and build things, and now I'm going to be moving to a Cancer rising, which is actually really exciting. I'm really looking forward. So the moon is a very important one that I'm going to be watching this. I mean, I'm always synced up, but for real, like if there was a time for me to be watching what she's doing, it would be this year for sure. But little things you learn there, Cancer. But again, if that resonates with you, all that information's down in the description box below there, Cancer. And last little thing, these readings I do, they're not gender specific readings. So apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situation, Cancer. But look how strong you are, Cancer. You came out of this Scorpio season like a boss because you have the resilience card here, Cancer. And what I like about this resilience is that is what Scorpio energy teaches you. It strengthens you. It shows you that even in the darkest time, when we get into Sag, that's the hope. That's when, the moon, Scorpio doesn't just happen for just no reason. There are intense points of life, but it reminds us, just like when we get through those times, how have I been showing up for it? When we get through that and we've gone through that metamorphosis, could I be doing more? Have I been repressing some of my passions? Have I not been making enough time for, or not have I not been? Do I want to make more time for my loved ones? Do I want to maybe just go make that move? Or maybe do I want to... I feel like Scorpio shows you that you're way tougher than you think. You have way more power than we've been made to believe. But it's in Sagittarius, it's learning a new belief system. When we see in Scorpio, we learn something intense. We see a truth. It makes us feel all kinds of ways, but now in Sagittarius, you've got that tough skin, and now you're willing to broaden that. I feel like that's what this energy really is, just like, and if you don't feel like you're tough enough, I feel that this can be a time where it's learning how to become tough enough. What can we do to strengthen that shell, get that Cancer? I'm assuming if you got Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, but how can we strengthen up that a little bit so that we learn to lead with love? Because the trickiness with Cancer, if you don't allow yourself to feel these things, then there's not that growth that's happening. And it's you have to face stuff when you're ready. I never would say that you're forcing things, but I do feel like this resilience is asking you, like, where have we maybe been selling ourselves short? Where we may been, where a narrative has been the same, where again we've been in some fixed emotions with Scorpio, that's fixed water, but now have we been so locked in that we're not, the water's not flowing anymore, that we're not being receptive, and this is where that wild fire comes in, where we need to maybe just kind of evaporate some of these things here and just like see a situation for what it is. It's happened. We're here. What am I going to go? How am I going to go forward from this? But let's get some tarot on this, Cancer, and get some details with this, because I like this. And I feel in this, Cancer, you guys, I feel like in this, Cancer, let's get into your tarot here before I get into that. So you have the Seven of Swords and the Five of Wands in reverse here, Cancer. And then you have the Six of Swords, the Nine of Wands, and the Queen of Coins upright here. And with the Six of Swords, this is moving on to new shores. These two are going, wherever they're going, they're just going with this chest, the clothes on their back, and hope. This is very Sagittarius, the Six of Swords. This is, I love this. This Nine of Wands here is the moon in Sagittarius. And I feel like this is looking at how something maybe has been limiting your strength, has been limiting your energies. Because the Nine of Wands is a very strong card. This is a card of, I feel like there's a push that happens with the Nine of Wands. Because, sometimes when we're in that dark night, when we're in that state of confusion, when we're not sure about how when we don't see another way here, I feel with the Seven of Swords being here, we can tell ourselves these lies or these illusions that I don't have the resources, or that I'm not strong enough to meet this conflict, or that it's almost like we define, it's almost like we, how do I want to put this? It's almost like we kind of let the emotion define us in a sense. Just when I feel like we're getting swept up in, and when we're feeling in that helplessness, when you don't feel like you can. But with the Queen of Pentacles being here, Queen of Coins, this is reminding you that you do have the resources at your disposal. And sometimes those resources, I feel with the Five of Wands, may be with other people, because sometimes I feel this is Mars in Leo, and sometimes what I'm getting with this is like maybe we can let our pride or our not wanting to feel like letting someone see us as vulnerable or something get in the way, make it see us as weak or something along those lines with the Five of Wands. But the Sun is in a very vulnerable place right now with the Sun moving into our sign now, and there's power in that, knowing when sometimes your resources is other people, as far as like, hey, I've really been kind of going through and I could just use an ear to lean on, just like, and we're in an energy of that, of really kind of being receptive. And I feel that maybe we feel that we can't talk with others because maybe we don't feel that they're as resilient, possibly. And I feel like that's something here where give them some credit, Cancer. Let them decide if something is too much. That's something that I've had to do, especially as I've, been getting more in touch with my feelings, where transformation can happen very fast for me. It can be very intense sometimes on the emotional standpoint of it. My partner's going through his progressed sun just entered into Scorpio. And so there's a lot of new emotions, a lot of intense emotions. It's very, very unfamiliar territory for everybody. But it was like, oh, I happen to see this coming. So I have been coming from a place of like, hey, this is what you're going through, whether you believe in this or not, you feel this. And this is what I have the capacity for. And we've been figuring out that, but there's been a resilience that's been needing to be faced. And there's sometimes when I can be there, and other times where I'm like, need you to sit with that first, or maybe talk with someone else about this before, I don't have to be everything for you. And that's something too there, Cancer, to think about with Cancerian energy, that, it's the mother. Be mindful where you can be resilient, you can take on a lot, be mindful about burning your energy out, because Sagittarius, sometimes I feel with you think about that abundant energy. Sure, you can do a lot and do things, but they can overestimate themselves sometimes. You can just keep going, 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 and you just forget that you need to stop for a minute. So especially with Jupiter being in Gemini, just even thinking about that, but being that the dispositor of this moon is Jupiter. So that's just something to consider as well there, Cancer. Let's keep going. Look at these queens. I'm going to cancel all this feminine energy. Oh! Thanks, guys. Alright, Cancer, let's get into it. You'll see why I'm all excited here, Cancer, because you have these Two of Swords and the Death card in reverse. But you have the Six of Coins, the Queen of Wands, and the Magician upright here, Cancer. You got a lot of lunar energy here, I'm noticing. You got Six of Moons is Moon in Taurus, the Two of Swords, Moon in Libra. Seven of Swords, Moon in Aquarius. Seven of Swords? That might be... Yeah, Seven of Swords, Moon in Aquarius, Moon in Sag. So there's a lot of lunar energy here. A lot of emotional energy that I feel is coming up. Something I feel is... With the Death card, there's this... Again, when we're talking about Scorpio, that's fixed water. And I understand, there's a time where maybe you need to capture some water, bottle some water up, and just really kind of look at it. Why is this water so different? But I feel like but I feel like hang with me in this analogy. But when the water sits for too long, when it doesn't move, not only does, even if you keep it bottled up, it may not get dirty, it may not collect the particles around it, it may be safe, but the chemicals are changing. Something's changing in the water. I'm just thinking about, for example, I'm getting a picture of jug water. You know how when it sits, you can tell when something's been sitting in a jug for too long, it starts to taste like plastic. And that's what I feel is happening here. It's like this Death card is looking at something where, in this Two of Swords, of where we're not making a decision, because the Moon in Libra can be this indecisive energy, this feeling of powerlessness, this feeling of stuckness, of not being, I almost feel a codependence, possibly, of it's one thing to need to talk with something about someone, but no one can make you do something. You know what I mean? I feel like no one can make a decision for you. You could either stay in a rut, or you can choose to get out of the rut. And when I say get out of the rut, again, this could be something as small as you've been sitting in bed for a week, and now get out of bed, roll out of bed. If I come in and someone's been sitting on the bed and I know they've been going through something, if I come out and I've been trying to keep you watered, keep you fed, and if you came out and I saw you move from the couch to the bed, you're crawling towards the bathroom, I'm like, all right, that's progress. I love that. That's progress. And that's what I feel the Queen of Wands is. There's something here about this burst of energy that's happening with the Queen of Wands. There's this... When we allow ourselves to get out of that funk, when hope starts to come through again, when we start being receptive of that, I feel with the Six of Coins being here, when we start taking that in and giving ourselves more of that possibility that we can change a situation here with the Magician, because the Magician's Mercury. And Mercury's think of Mercury as how you communicate, that's your day-to-day, how your environment's looking, and kind of looking at that. Has that been conducive to your what is manifested? As with when you went through maybe this Scorpio state, or if you've been holding on to something, and how can we do, just as something as it's maybe you've been feeling crappy, maybe you've been feeling this. It's great example. I remember right around the time I was going through my divorce, I was staying with, I've stars aligned, and I managed to find a place to stay. And the person I was staying with, they were going through some things. They were going through some stuff, and I think just in life, and it was kind of dark, little kind of a lot of Pisces. They had a Pisces rising, so it's like very great for a Pisces. But for Leo rising, like, in as much Leo as I have, like, I need some sunlight in here. So it's like, hey, I made small changes. I removed some blinders from the light, and like, let's bring some light in here. There was this plant that was tucked away. I started tending to that. The plant started to grow. The cats were happy about the plant growing. They started eating it. But just like, just as we can create a play, and it's a reflection of our internal world too sometimes. So that's something like, I hope this is making sense. I know it's a little, let me get grammar a little bit, Cancer. But when I feel this magician is saying, it's like, when we can get in a rut, when we start like neglecting like the home space when we're going through something, starting to do those little cleanups, like, let's shower, and then it's like, okay, maybe let's straighten up the room, let's get some clothes in order, let's do a load of laundry, things like that helps you gain this resilience. It starts to bring your vitality back here with the Queen of Wands. I feel, there's this, and then we can really kind of sit with, like, what is this resistance? Why have I been resisting with this? Like, okay, it's time to make this change. And then the growth happens, and then the wisdom happens, and then we start this next, then the next, you celebrate for a little while, and then as you're growing, then a new thing reveals itself. But it's always an invitation for growth here, Cancer. So I feel like something too to keep in mind, where I feel like Scorpio sometimes can be, again, like, on a lower vibration, can just be very fatalistic, nihilistic. What's the point? Like, the earth is going to, just no matter what you do, there's just always going to be something wrong. I feel that this can be, where'd my flow go? This can be like an invitation to, oh, my flow. Oh, I had something great that was good. I got a little caught up in that. Basically, Cancer, it's the words are going away from me. I think I've talked it out, Cancer. I think you get where I'm going with this. Let's get some advice from Jupiter here, Cancer. Oh, I know it is. Okay, there it is. It's just that, even though that, like, there's, like, life ebbs and flows, and the sun in Cancer reminds of that, especially, it's especially highlighted when the sun is in Cancer, that life ebbs and flows. But remembering that even in the lows, there's always going to be in the highs, and remembering the highs to really savor that present moment so that it can carry you through the lows, and keep that hope and keep that resilience, so that, you can just keep rising there, Cancer, keep expanding. So there it is. So it's like, oh, there's something solid in there. Oh, all right. All right, Cancer. Thank you, guys. Last little bit here. Alrighty. So you have, love that. So you have the Emperor and the Ace of Swords in reverse. That's Aries energy. And then you have the Page of Swords and the Knight of Wands upright. And let's switch back over here, Cancer. Because the Emperor here, and I love that you got both Scorpio and Aries here, because those are both the planets that are both the signs that Mars is dignified in, that he's at home in. And both Aries and Scorpio, they're very powerful signs. They're very strong. They're very intuitive, instinctive, and I feel like there's this here of, like, there's this idea, I feel, with the Ace of Swords being here, of this powerlessness that's coming through here, of not feeling in control of something. And sometimes you find with Scorpio, it's like releasing that control that can help you find the ideas that you're looking for, because I feel maybe this Emperor is maybe trying to force understanding of this Ace of Swords here, and maybe it's that getting on with the day, like starting to try to get back in the routine of things, can help understand what life was trying to inspire here, what like this what was the point with this, of this lesson, of this growth, what was trying to inspire. Yeah, something was trying to inspire here, because what I feel can happen, and this is where I was kind of talking about with Sagittarius, what I think can happen, what I've experienced happen, is when something is unresolved in Scorpio, that belief system gets taken into Sagittarius, and then it's like I was saying, it's like a wildfire. And that's where I feel like maybe before we say an idea is such, make sure that we understand maybe where it's coming from. Like there's this, and I'm going to get a little bit more on this Knight of Wands here before we close out, Cancer, but let me get a little bit more on that to see about this here, because there's something that you want to, the Knight of Wands has a lot of focused energy. That's for me, that's Leo, that's that fixed fire energy. So you want to be mindful of like how we're letting that, and Leo is about that sense of who am I. So it's like we're letting that belief system define who we are and define our actions. So, but let me see what's going on with this. Interesting, Cancer. So the Knight of Wands is clarified by the Seven of Moons and the Star card in reverse, and that's Aquarius energy. And the Star card is giving me something that something is not quite healed yet. There's been this resistance, something here. There's been this, and when we're thinking Aquarius, that's that fixed air. We've been locked on to a thought here. A lot of fixed energy popping through in this analogy here, but I feel the Seven of Moons, it's just like you have more, there are more options for growth than you're seeing here, possibly here, and that you've grown, and maybe, and you're more resilient in more ways than you realize. Even there are some ways that I'm even feeling that are now, that are in the mix, that are happening, but we're not seeing because there's something that's blocking that, possibly, and it's just like, take a minute to look at how far you've come. Maybe life may not be as where you're wanting it to be, but is it further from where you've been? Like that's where I feel like this question is asked. And then if not, this was where the Six of Swords is, where what can I do to change this thing? Because it's like we're ready to leave. If these questions are coming up, if there's these feelings, I was listening to someone who was talking about Saturn, and he was talking about, and as a Cancer, I felt some kind of way about this at first, but I was like, okay, I'm like, that made me feel some kind of way. Go on. Let me see what you mean by that. And he was talking about wasted emotions. And it was just like, he was saying not in the sense of like that emotions are useless or anything like that. It's more so that when you get lost in the ocean, when it's just emotional and nothing else, then that nothing comes of it. And then it's like it's like you've gone through a storm and you learn nothing from it. Like you didn't know how to, you may not have gotten through it gracefully, but hey, you learned that maybe I need to learn how to steer this sails better, or maybe next time I need to have more food, or maybe next time I need to do, maybe not, do forecasting for such and such, and you hit up a weather or astrologer or whatever, and, but it's, there's something here that you're stronger than you realize. You have more than you can do. You've come a long way, and you're going to keep going a long way and gaining more resilience, and keep, that's the part of the zodiac. We're keep going in a constant cycle. There's cycles and circles. So, but I think I'm going to leave that there, Cancer. A little something to meditate on. But if you like that, or if anything resonated with you, Cancer, give it a thumbs up. And share this, Cancer, if you know someone who's not maybe feeling as resilient. Because this is something, too, I look at this fox here. And again, it's like the foxes are clever, Cancer. And I feel like this is, too, like you're even more clever than you realize. You're more, again, Queen of Pentacles, you're more resourceful. And let someone know that they're more resourceful, that they realize that these emotions are indicators for action. I'm thinking about, on my birthday, I'm thinking about doing a review of my solar return chart and kind of just showing you like what things came up for like last year and things and what's coming up for me this year. But what I like to do is I'll look at the Sabian symbols, and I looked at the one for where my ascendant is, which is not too far from my sun sign. Oddly enough, it's conjunct that, so that's really fascinating. But and I get it, it's, or at least I'm getting an idea of it. But there was this, when it helped me understand Cancer a little bit deeper, because it was, the theme for me this year is Mama's got work to do. And it was applying this energy about the Sabian symbols, talking about this, a mother needing to feed her children. And, so how's that happening? Where are you getting your, Capricorn is not just because Capricorn is the provider. Cancer makes money too. Cancer is the place of the home space. The moon's got mansions. So that's kind of, just thinking about how can I take what I'm feeling and channel that constructively. So, but yeah, but then subscribe there, you emperor. Hit that bell button, you magician. Hit the bell button, if I release videos each week. And then last little bit there, Cancer. If you're wanting to, I'm going to start posting on my other channel, Alchemist 8. I do weekly videos there with the celestial forecast and talk about the weather that's going on there, Cancer. Well, actually, that's the forecast. You're the weather. I actually love that. I read that in Stephen Forrest. I just finished reading one of Stephen Forrest's books. I've been reading like voraciously. And I like how he put that. He says that, the transits are the forecast and you're the weather, Cancer. So this is to find out what kind of force you're coming through this, or how you're coming through like a force this week. And I'm also going to start doing chart analysis and like how to read lunar return charts, and just like some informational videos, and just to kind of help add some content to the other channel, so you have some stuff to maybe look into. Maybe you're wanting to understand what Mercury in Cancer means in the 7th house a little bit more. So I think I'm going to start a little, that's a great idea. I think I'm going to start a little series there, Cancer. And I have these dice here. I have these exercises. So I'll just add a video each time to the mix. And all that housekeeping, Cancer, is down in the description box below. But let me get your surprise cards here, Cancer, so I can get you out of here. Oh, how interesting. Absolutely, Cancer. Got the 3 of Cups in reverse here. And this is Mercury in Cancer. So this I feel is, especially with Mercury being in Cancer, being mindful about how you are nurturing yourself during this period of time, how your thoughts are nurturing your growth, how you're communicating to yourself daily, how you're communicating to others daily when you're feeling some type of way. I was, like I said, the moon had just entered into Scorpio, Venus and Mercury had just entered into Cancer, and I was having a conversation with my partner, and at one point, he did something I didn't care for, and I talked about it. And then I did something I didn't care for, but I'm like, listen, I saw it too. I was being defensive. But this is where Mercury in Cancer is about. Being able to talk about what was going on inside of me and why did I react that way. Why did I, and taking responsibility for these emotions, understanding, we're talking about that, emotional responsibility 101. This is great for that. And there are going to be mistakes. And this is a time to be kind for yourself, because Cancer can be reactive. It's cardinal water. You feel a lot. It's just going to come out. It's Cancer, especially when we're feeling just very, very emotional. I remember seeing someone who, and let me get your oracle cards here, who they have like four placements of Cancer, all in personal plan. I think except their Saturn. I think they have the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Saturn all in Cancer, and they have their Mars. Actually, their Mars is in Aries, and that's the only fire that they have. Other than, they have they have this. They're a mix of just like this fire. A lot of water and a lot of water and a lot of fire. And I remember they were having a really emotional day, really emotional. And that was, I had never seen that person so ready to do something. In most of the time, it's just sort of go with the flow, just kind of traveling the waves, just doing his Cancer thing, Pisces moon. He's just doing it. But then, when sparked with something, when there was a time for a change, when that Sagittarius fire was feeling threatened, when that Mars was feeling threatened, it was just like that emotion was just like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get this done, I'm going to do this. I'm like, yes, Cancer. But that's how Cancer energy can be constructive. It's communicating, understanding these emotions, but in utilizing them, understanding the source of where they're coming from. Because no sooner did that fire die down, sometimes the water takes over, and then it happens. But that's the thing. It's just, I feel this Three of Cups is learning how to talk about these emotions more with others, to understand the emotion, how we're receiving the emotions of others. When people are throwing emotions at you, oh, absolutely. When they're throwing emotions at you, Cancer, thank you, higher self. New moon in Gemini, think it through. Do you really want to take that on? Sometimes you got that person who's maybe having a hard time in life, but that doesn't excuse them throwing stuff at you. You don't got to go there. It's just like, no. Think it through. I feel like, see the duality of that. I feel when we're thinking of Mercury and Cancer, this in the Three of Cups, pay attention, I feel like, to people's intentions too. We're getting into where I feel like this Cancer can be sometimes, and this is with water energy, there's that potential of like emotional manipulation here with the Three of Cups. Think it through as far as how people are talking with you, how you're maybe talking with others. Are we sidestepping things? Just pay attention to that. I feel this is coming through there, because we're just getting into, again, just a lot of water right now with all them. Granted, Mercury's only gonna be in Cancer for like a couple of weeks. They're gonna zip through, so things will start feeling a little more alive once Mercury gets to Leo. But this is right now to really kind of tune in and just really be mindful of the things that we're initiating, where we're initiating them from. And I feel like this could be a very fruitful time, because Cancer is very creative. This could be a time where we can create new, lasting relationships with people. I'd be mindful too, just with the Three of Cups, of just superficial things. You got the Scorpio in reverse here. So be mindful of superficial connections as well. Maybe, again, people playing the heartstrings, because Cancer can be the first one to go wanting to save somebody and then get left high and dry and then not sure what to do with all that. So just be aware of that. But I think I'm gonna leave that there, Cancer. Stay mindful, stay present, stay grounded when you can. If you feel these emotions come up, Cancer, I feel like a great way to try to ground those energies. You can get outside, get your feet on the ground, your physical feet on the ground, and just kind of like, just ground. Maybe not with those noises, but just ground and just find your center. That can really kind of help, or however you need to maybe talk things out, maybe work this out. While the sun is in Cancer, get to know your moon placement. Understand how your needs, where the moon is at as far as by sign, how it's operating through what house. That can be very beneficial for you. Where your progressed moon is at, that can be very beneficial. So, and yeah, feel the moon, Cancer. Stay in touch with that lunar energy, and you get excited for that full moon, Cancers. It's coming, and I will catch you on the next one. When am I gonna catch ya? Venus Day.